if you're tired of having unpainted Dungeons and Dragons miniatures laying around your house, I can think of no better sets of paints for you to pick up to get the job done than Army Painter's new D&D miniature paint line for your new minis. Now, Army Painter's no noob to the scene. They've been putting out great paint for well over 10 years now. As a matter of fact, if I switch to my face cam, which I'm not going to, trust me, there is a face behind these hands, you would see that I have the full Army Painter set behind me on my bookcase. I use a lot of those paints in my normal daily hobby activities and also my tutorials, my live streams on Twitch and such like that. Now, fast forward to 2018, we've got the D&D set. Now, these are really cool sets. They're affordable, right? Because look, let's be real. I know you can run down to Walmart or whatever, department stores in your area. You can pick up a big bottle of those apple barrel paints or whatever off-brand there is. This stuff is terrible for your miniatures. Yeah, it might work great on ceramics and stuff, but you want something that's formulated for the material you're going to put it on with the colors that, are out there in the wargaming world. These colors are brand new. Well, they're kind of rebranded. There's 3 brand new ones that are labeled over, and they give you a guide in here, which we're going to show you. 36 of them in the monster set, 10 of them in the adventurous paint set. You probably won't need both boxes, to be quite honest, because if you just, hey, if you're not a DM or something and you don't have a bunch of monsters on the table, you're probably not going to need this box. But this box is legit because it's got a beholder on it. No, I'm just kidding. I can't back that up. But it does come with an owlbear, which we're going to look at here in a second. The pigment set is going to come with an exclusive mini. You get Minsk and Boo, so you know what these minis go for, so that's an added value right there. You get 10 paints, you get a paintbrush in this, so this is the perfect player NPC, maybe if you have some NPCs or some whatever following around, whatever. This is a great set. It's going to come with an option to pick up some paintbrushes, because what's the point of using good paints if you don't have a good paintbrush in your hands? Yes, I know you can go to the arts and crafts store. Don't do it. Don't fall into that trap. Buy some good paintbrushes. Take care of them. They will last you. Trust me. Very, very, very. I have paintbrushes that are 10 years, 20 years old because I clean them and I take care of them. So trust me there. Now, the Adventures paint set, $24.99. I think a very ambitious price. You can pick it up from Army Painter's website or a miniature market here in the States. Of course, there are discount codes and such all over Spiky Bits. We'll drop one in the comments below so you can pick them up a little bit cheaper perhaps. And then the monsters paint set as well. This one's a little bit more. This one goes for $79.99 because it does come with a lot of paints and it does come with that big owlbear miniature there. But there's lots of good content in here. We're going to take a look at it. And then the brush sets are only $11.99. So I feel like, yeah, I know you can buy a big be it 10 brushes or whatever for 10 bucks. It's very easy to do. Don't fall into the trap. Get you some good 3 good brushes that you are going to use for these miniatures. All right, once you get this bad boy open, you're going to get a nice little paint tray to keep all your stuff in. It has some extra slots in case you somehow pick up new bottles. I don't think these are going to be released separately, unfortunately. There you can see a better look at everything that comes in there and the colors right there. You also get the Minsk and Boo miniature. We'll take a closer look here in a second at that one, and a really nice detail brush right here that looks like one of them that comes out of the set. Now, real quick, value wise, like I said, $24.99. Here's what's cool about this. So this paint here, and let's zoom in for a sec. So this paint here, Kraken Blue, this is a 12mm pot. It is smaller than the Army Painter pots that you're gonna see out at your stores if they have the big racks. They are significantly smaller, but there's a reason for that. So there's 18 mLs in here, 12 mLs in here. And why that is hilariously important is if you compare this to a Citadel paint, the Citadel paints here when you look at this, it's almost like an optical illusion, right? Like, you're like, oh, wow, which one has more paint in it? Well, I would say this one on the right here definitely has 100% has more paint in it. However, when you look at the label, this is 12 mLs right here. This pot is the same as this pot over here. This pot from Citadel, Games Workshop of course, is $4.25, whereas these pots, which they don't retail separately as far as I'm aware at this point, the ones from Army Painter that are a third more are $3. So maybe you could put a value of, I don't know, $2 a paint on this or something like that. If that's the case, then hey, that 10 paints you just got is, you know, retail value of $20. Plus you get a brush, and brushes go for at least $5 each in this industry for sure. It is a starter brush. It's a nice little detail brush. It'll serve you well as long as you clean it. Then you also get that exclusive miniature, and we know how much D&D miniatures go for these days, so you can't shake a stick at that kind of value either. So look at this. Nice, well-detailed miniature, lots of cool-looking chainmail right there. Great folds in the cape, detailed base. I mean, you could snip them off there and put them on a new base if you really wanted to. But this guy's looking very fresh. Of course, you can paint the little splotch on his face as well if you wanted to. And then, of course, the space hamster himself right there. Whispering sweet nothings, using his words as he does. Straight out of the video game and into players' hearts. 20 years old, I think this year, as a matter of fact. Holy cow. Now, one of the things I want to show you before we get to the other paint sets here is something about these paints. And I'm going to link in the comments field below for you guys to check out how to actually use these paints. We've used these paints on other miniatures. They are exactly the same as the Army Painter paints. But one thing you need to be aware of is that it's going to come with a little bit more medium. Because it's possible that you purchased this paint set and it was sitting on the shelf for a while. Of course, you know, they're all going to be sitting on the shelf for the same amount of time because they're just released. However, if anything happens, like they're stored outside, or, you know, depending on where you're purchasing from the online retailers that might store their stuff in a shed, you just really never know. That's why I always prefer to purchase my paints in person from somebody that orders directly from the manufacturer at the very least. One of the things you're going to want to do right off the bat is open this up, and then we're going to squeeze out a little bit of the medium at the top of the bottle. Now, actually, this looks pretty well shaken, to be quite honest, and it looks like it has been pretty well shaken coming through the mail and such to me. You can see that there is some difference in that paint right there, some lighter and some darker, and that's because the pigment has started to settle a little bit, but it's still in suspension enough that there isn't a bunch of the medium towards the top of this bottle. Now, in some cases, you may get, be aware of this, you may get it where it's got a little bit of medium up here. So you always want to take your paints before you use them from Army Painter and just kind of see right there, that was a nice clear little bubble because that was actually the medium. So they put a little bit more medium in here to give you a little bit of protection against the paint itself drying out, or, you know, the pigment reacting with the air that's actually in the bottle itself, etc., etc. There's a lot of circumstances that could happen, but long story short, you're probably not ever going to get a paint that has dried out from Army Painter. Now, it's up to you how much of that medium you want to squeeze out based on your ambient humidity. Like folks that live out west probably want to keep more in there, where people like myself that live in North Carolina, well, we're going to want to probably squeeze out some of that because, well, it rains here like all the time. So just be aware of that. It's something very important, and one of the advantages to Army Painter, oh, and besides the fact that, hey, if you have your paint on the table and you knock it over, oh no, it hasn't spilled out. Now, when we open up the larger set, the Monsters paint set, well, it's going to come with quite a bit more. So you can see here all the colors that come in here. Like I said, all of these except for 3, I believe, and you can find the PDF chart over on armypainter.com, match up exactly to existing Army Painter colors. So you can always, you know, if you run out of whatever, you can always match it up now to an existing Army Painter color, and we already showed you what those look like. Now, they also have sprays too, which will help you if you feel like you want to take that kind of leap. These are great because they're all color matched to a particular paint. Like, for instance, say you want to color match your black or your silver here, Silver Dragon. This says, hey, this is Shining Silver, which there isn't a Shining Silver spray. There is a plate mail metal and gun metal, so unfortunately that doesn't have a color match spray, but there's going to be some that actually do and match up 100% right there. Now, like I said, all the chart is on the back, so you can check out all those, and most of the documentation is on the outside of the box. Remember, 36 of these come in here, and they're going to be all those 12 mil pots. So very, very cool. You've got all sorts of different colors, and I feel like at this price point, it's giving you so many paints that it's really hard to not have included anything. So I think they have really hit the nail on the head with the smaller pot. But I say smaller, and it's not really a bad thing. It's the same size as the Citadel paints. So you're getting a normal GW size paint, which each of those paints would cost you $4 for a higher end. I'm not going to say the highest end, because this is probably 3/4 of the way to the top, right? 3/4 of the way to the top paint that, you know, is just a tremendous value when you compare it to Games Workshop. I believe Army Painter and Games Workshop are exactly the same. I prefer some of their paints to others, and that'll be another video to get into here. These are also going to come with some washes. You get a flesh wash, a shadow wash. These are very similar to the tones from Army Painter. If you have any questions, like for instance, shadow wash is probably dark tone if I had to guess. Let's see what it says here. Yeah, dark tone. Okay, so that makes sense. So we're tracking along how they kind of did this. Now the Owlbear miniature looks pretty neat. Let's take a closer look at that one. So this guy is a beast. He is definitely bigger than Mr. Minsk here. Yep, way bigger. This is probably about a 50 mil base right there, if you're keeping track of what size things are on. So a very cool miniature. It looks like it was multi-part and perhaps glued together at the factory. You can see a little bit of gapping, but nothing too bad, because for the most part you're going to be dry brushing this miniature like it showed you in the little pamphlet here. Where did my pamphlet go? So they're going to show you exactly what colors go into this bad boy, and this is a process called dry brushing. You can look up tutorials. I think we've done one here on the channel as well, but they're all over YouTube. And there's the color guide for Mr. Minsk. Also, remember too, you're gonna need to get some brushes to do that, and of course they have the brush set. So a base coat brush, a detail brush, and a dry brush are gonna augment if you buy the smaller set, the Adventurer's Paint set. That is gonna be a starter brush that comes in there. So remember, these are probably a synthetic. I actually should have looked it up right there. But either way, they've got the D&D logo on it. This is a base coat brush here. And yeah, for the most part, that'll get you a nice base coat tip right there. It's not going to be something to detail out. This is definitely synthetic right there. Great for dry brushing. And a normal detail brush as well for getting all that chainmail and stuff like that. So this looks like, these look like some very high quality brushes. As for the price point, I definitely think this is a good set for the price right there. And of course they got the D&D logo on it, so what could be cooler than that? If you're gonna shell out some coin on some brushes, you might as well buy some brush cleaner too. If you're going hard in the paint, you might as well, right? So the Master's Brush Cleaner is something you can pick up at art stores and of course Amazon. I actually used to use this for a number of years. I no longer use this stuff, and I use Gentastic's Drunken Brush Group from Slow Fuse Gaming. I guess maybe it's Monument Games by now. They're going through a rebrand. This stuff is amazing. I can't believe how well it works. I've actually been able to save brushes that are 10 or 20 years old. So amazing stuff there. Pick up some brush cleaner if you're going to stick with it. If not, you don't have to buy it day one. But you definitely want to take care of the brushes that are getting your miniatures painted. So overall, I think this is great value for a lot of folks out there that might be starting out down the path of miniature painting with the D&D figures. And what better place to start than the branded paints themselves, which are in fact very good and very easy to use. Now whichever set you buy, I can guarantee you they're all good stuff. Drop any questions, of course, in the comments below. And speaking of comments below, I will be dropping in all of our tutorials. We show you how to use these paints, how to use primers, how to use a lot of different things, a lot of different components out there that you may have questions about. Now, I might not say D&D paints on it, but this is all the Army Painter stuff, and it's all works together as a complete system to help get all of your miniatures painted in as little as a weekend. So make sure you check those out, and of course scoop up all the miniatures from Army Painter and the exclusive Gale Force 9 miniatures for D&D from Gale Force 9, included with all these great new D&D paints.